Hi guys, welcome to another live stream. Never fucking mind. I was gonna go live on TikTok simultaneously, but they want to verify my age. And I made a live stream about how you should not be verifying your age on. Why does my face look so red? Oh my god. It's probably because I'm wearing blue and I'm surrounded by blue. My face looks so red. And I have nothing. Just this light color. No, that's not working. It's whatever. So as the title says, I wanted to come on here and talk about the beauty community because recently there have been some things happening in the beauty community. And for those of you that don't know, I was a beauty YouTube fiend, right? I was obsessed with the beauty community and with what beauty gurus were doing all the time. So I wanted to come on here and talk about that. Like, it got to the point, I just want to preface this by saying, so you understand how big of a beauty community girly I was. It got to the point where someone, like, whenever a beauty guru would do like a makeup tutorial and she would be using products on her face, I would know what product she was using before she said what product she was using. Okay? I can't do that anymore. Unfortunately. But that's how big I was into the beauty community. And I just want to talk about it because, like I said, there have been some things happening, some pretty upsetting things happening in the beauty community. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was this Jaclyn Hill situation. So again, like I said, I was a big beauty community fan, but I was especially like a bigger fan of Jaclyn Hill. Jaclyn Hill was my go-to. She was the beauty guru that I watched whenever I wanted to watch a beauty guru do makeup. Oh shit. Sorry. I'm doing something on my computer. So she was the one that I would watch whenever I wanted to watch a beauty guru. And again, it got to the point where uh I knew what products she was using before she said what products she was using, and it was a mix of two things. It was a mix of me knowing the products that she liked, but then also me knowing what the products looked like on camera, right? So if she would be using the Urban Decay Naked palette, and like before she showed it on camera or anything, and she just put her brush in there and like put it on her eye, I would be like, oh, that's the Urban Decay Naked palette. Or Makeup Geek was another brand that she loved to use a lot. Um, the Gerard lip glosses, you know, the ones that had a mirror on them. This is probably like a deep cut. So if you're any younger than I am, you're probably not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. But there were these Gerard lip glosses that had mirrors on the side of the lip gloss bottle, and then you twisted the thing and opened up the wand, and when you opened up the wand it would have a light in the wand. So you would apply it, you'd have your little mirror, and the beauty gurus advertised it as something that was like um practical, because like Jaclyn, I think, used the example like whenever she was on a plane and she forgot to bring her mirror or whatever, or she needed to pack light and she couldn't bring more things, all she had to do was use the Gerard lip gloss, and and she said, like, sometimes I will even use the mirror without without applying my lip gloss because it's just such a good mirror. I wanted that lip gloss so bad. That's why I remember it so much. But then obviously there was Morphe palette, etc. So the the stuff that I knew and that I know about these beauty gurus is immense because I was into beauty guru YouTube when I was like 10, 11, 12, young, like what are they called? I was going to say formidable ages, but that is not the word. Um you know when people referred to the ages where you absorb things, I don't remember the word. I was just thinking about that word yesterday, but I don't remember the word anymore. But anyway, yeah. Also, like I said, you guys, my face looks so red. I don't know. Because my hand looks normal. That does not look normal. My face looks even more red when I do this. I know I don't look like this in person. It's just the way my camera is picking out the colors. Because again, I'm wearing blue. I wonder what would happen. I'm not going to take my shirt off, but like that looks red too. I do not have red skin. In fact, it's very yellow. But anyway, so the thing that's been happening with Jaclyn Hill is that she made a TikTok about how she was only getting 30,000 views on her TikTok. And if you guys don't know, Jaclyn Hill used to be, and kind of still is, pretty well known, right? But she used to be well known in the sense that everybody liked her. Nowadays, she's well known in the sense that nobody likes her, right? It's famous versus infamous. And so I wonder what happens if I put this purple around. Okay, my skin color kind of balanced out a little bit. But I don't want to have this around my neck, and it didn't really help anyway. I wonder what will happen if I use this. See, balanced out. So I'm just gonna do the live stream with this under my chin. Okay. So Jaclyn Hill was very, very famous back in the day because people trusted her recommendations. Okay. And she helped create, or not helped create, but she helped make Makeup Geek, Gerard Cosmetics, Morphe, Becca Cosmetics. She helped make those brands so famous to the point where they were like $1 million brands. When they reached out to her, when they first reached out to her, they were not $1 million brands. They were starting out, right? They had a penny to their name. And then she talked about them. All of a sudden, they blew up and they became $1 million brands. That is how trusted she was. And she lost the trust because things started happening, and they started happening when she got with Morphe. Because before, she would talk about Makeup Geek, she would talk about Gerard Cosmetics, she would talk about a bunch of different brands before Morphe. But then once Morphe came into the picture, it was over. It was over for her. It was over for her collaborations with Makeup Geek. It was over with her collaborations with Becca. I remember she kept teasing because she was such a big like Makeup Geek fan. And Makeup Geek, by the way, if you guys do not remember, or if you are too young to remember, Makeup Geek used to make these individual eyeshadow pan things. So they were in circles, and they also sold them for the Z palettes. And the Z palettes, you could take, say this was a Z palette, it was completely empty, and you could take those individual eyeshadow pans. MAC also sold them, so you could take those individual eyeshadow pans and then just magnetically stick them onto your Z palette, so you could customize your own eyeshadow palette. And Jacqueline would rave about them. She'd be like, "Oh my god, you guys, I got my Makeup Geek eyeshadows, and this is the way that I organize them in my Z palette. Isn't it so cute?" Right? Um, because of that, she kept teasing a collab with Makeup Geek, and she kept being like, "I may or not come out with a collab with Makeup Geek, and it's gonna be all of my favorite eyeshadows, and you guys, it's gonna be so worth it. I hope you guys stick around for that. Like, you guys know I love my Makeup Geek eyeshadows. I love them so freaking much. You're gonna love it, right?" So, it never came. And it never came because of Morphe. Because Morphe got into the picture, and Morphe also had not individual pans, but they had the same shape, right? And so when Morphe first reached out to Jacqueline, they did have those like um plastic, like black plastic palettes that looked very, very cheap. Okay. And she would like review them, and she'd be like, "You guys, these are the best eyeshadows I've ever had." And you know what? I think, in fact, they also Beauty Community. Did I misspell it? I hope I did not misspell it. Beauty Community, like beauty gurus. Um, that's what it is. Like makeup people. Um, yeah. I hope I did not misspell it, because if I did, that would be very embarrassing. But also, hello. Um, I'm talking about who used to be my favorite makeup YouTuber on YouTube. There's a difference between makeup influencer, which is a nowadays term, versus a makeup YouTuber, which was a back in the day term. Because, YouTube was really the only social media platform where you could upload videos like that. But anyway, so when Morphe first came out, I think they did have individual eyeshadow palettes or individual eyeshadow pans, because I remember Jacqueline made a video being like, "I met with the founder of Morphe, and she gave me these eyeshadows to try, and you guys, they are so creamy, they are so pigmented," right? With her mannerisms, you know how she is. And then she showed off like their black cheap plastic palettes, and she was like, "You guys, these eyeshadows are so good. They are so cheap and they're so good." And then she talked about how she was going to do a collab with Morphe. Dun dun dun. She always was like, "I'm going to do a collab with this brand." Right? But this time the collab actually came through. And the collab was basically her doing a Jaclyn Hill's favorites eyeshadow. So this was not the Jaclyn Hill eyeshadow palette that is infamous today. This is the like before that. It was a black Morphe eyeshadow palette with all of Jaclyn's favorite eyeshadows. So it wasn't like she was in the lab creating the formulas. She was basically just like, "Ooh, Morphe, here are the eyeshadows that you already have. I like this one. I like this one. I like this one," right? Kind of like, what would be comparable? Kind of like if you went up to Crayola and Crayola did a collaboration with you, and they were like, "Okay, what is your favorite crayon? Like, pick your 10 favorite crayons, and we'll put that in a pack, and we will sell that pack." And so you're like, "Okay, I like the dandelion color. I like the berry color. I like the green color, right? The forest green color." And so then they would put those crayons together and put them in a pack. That's what Jacqueline originally made with Morphe. And then her eyeshadow palettes, like the Vault and her white eyeshadow palette that became infamous, that would be like if you went up to Crayola and you were like, "I want to create a new color with you," right? That's the difference, essentially. So anyway, this collab with Morphe goes really badly. You know what? I think I've talked about this on my channel before, because this is like it's in my head all the time. This is like my Roman Empire, if you will. So she did that collab with Morphe, and she was like, "You guys, you better be on the website because it's gonna sell out quick." And it did. Sold out quick. Matter of fact, the website crashed. So the next video that Jacqueline did, she had to be like, "You guys, you crashed the website. I am so freaking like honored and humbled that you would even choose me, that you would even like me. Like I can't believe I came from food stamps. I have no idea what I did to deserve this. Like I don't know why you guys like me so much, etc., 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 right? Humbly accepting the fact that she got so much money out of it, out of that collab. Um, but then she was like, "But don't worry, we're gonna do another stock, and you guys are gonna get it." And I was talking about this in my podcast episode about the scarcity marketing that I did, how scarcity marketing has basically just been around for ages, and it started with, I'm pretty sure, Morphe. That's a lie. It's probably started before Morphe, but like Morphe back in the day was a big scarcity marketing type of brand. And I remember because I was a huge Jaclyn Hill fan, and yeah, it was crazy. But anyway, I went kind of off topic. So the drama that she's in currently is about her she got on TikTok because she when she was on YouTube and when she first started on TikTok, she had millions of followers and millions of views. Okay? Millions. I'm talking like Jacqueline was an OG like big YouTuber back in the day, and that those numbers translated over to TikTok. So she recently made a TikTok talking about how she only gets 30,000 views on her TikTok. And her point was that she was complaining about TikTok's algorithm not showing her TikToks to her followers, right? Because she has millions of followers, but she's only getting 30,000 views. So she was like, "Isn't that so weird? Like, isn't that so? I just don't like the way that that's going. I know that there's something going on at TikTok. They're not showing my TikToks to my followers." She got so much hate for that because a lot of her followers were saying, "No, we're here. We can see your content. We just don't like it. We scroll past it." Matter of fact, I'm gonna unfollow you right now, right? Because the thing with Jacqueline is before, and the reason why she got so big is because she used to do genuine makeup tutorials, and her makeup tutorials were revolutionary. They she did a whole like Kim Kardashian inspired eyeshadow look. Got a notification. And that was the first video on her channel that really blew up and that got so many views and so many like people subscribing to her channel. And it was it was a very useful tutorial, right? It was a tutorial that hadn't been on YouTube before. Um and also her personality was really something that people clung onto, and they really liked that side of her. They were like, "Oh, I love whoever this girl is. Like she explains things so well. She seems so humble. She tells us like cuz she used to say like if you don't have the products that I'm using, don't even worry about it. Just use something similar to this, right? Cuz she worked at MAC, so she would get the expensive makeup. She could take home expensive makeup. And so she was like, "You guys, I'm an employee there. Like I'm not buying it. I understand. I'm on food stamps right now. I can't afford makeup. If it wasn't for me working at MAC, I would not be able to have the makeup that I do. So don't even feel ashamed about it. If you have to shop at Walmart, like if you have to shop at CVS, I totally understand. I'm basically in your position too, right? Cuz a retail employee. I don't have the money to be buying the cosmetics that my employer sells. So like I totally get it. If you don't have this sparkly eyeshadow by MAC, just go into your local pharmacy and get whatever sparkly eyeshadow they have there, right? It was very humble, and she never made you feel ashamed of not having the makeup that she had. So that's what drew a lot of people to her. But recently, and not recently, over the past 6-7 years, she has really been forgetting what made her big, right? Over the past, like, yeah, 7 years, she has completely changed her content to be, instead of her doing makeup tutorials and showing you how she does her makeup, her content is instead selling you things, right? So whereas before she would make comments like, don't even worry if you don't have this product, if you don't have this exact MAC blush, if you don't have this exact, like, if you don't have the exact MAC lip liner in Whirl, don't even worry about it. Just go into your local CVS and get like whatever lip liner that matches this. Um, Whereas before she would do that, nowadays she's doing, you guys have to buy this $2,000 bag to store all your makeup in because it's what I use and I stand by it. Use my link in bio, right? She's basically trying to sell you stuff. And so people no longer feel good about watching her stuff, right? They're like, I'm sorry, I don't have the money that you do. I don't have millions of dollars to just be spending like crazy. Because, like, the thing is, she's rich, okay? She started YouTube way back when YouTube was like an unpopular platform to have, you know? Like, if you told people, oh yeah, I upload videos on YouTube, it's not like it is nowadays, where nowadays people are like, oh, okay, so like, you got an audience or whatever. No, back then, YouTube was full of weird people and like artists who uploaded their music videos on the website. Like that's when Shane Dawson was around and was really big. That's when Onision was really, oh my god. Don't even want to go there. But you know what I mean? Like it was weird people on YouTube. So if you said, "Oh, I'm uploading videos on YouTube," it was either like because you had like a camcorder and you were recording your camera and you would just upload them on YouTube, not thinking that anybody would look at it, and just seeing like uploading them for your family to watch, right? Maybe you have like family that's across the country, and so you would be like recording videos and then you would upload it on YouTube and be like, and then call up your brother or your sister or whatever and be like, you should check out my channel on YouTube, and then that way you can see your niece and nephew, right? You were either uploading videos because of that, or you were uploading videos because you were a Shane Dawson, Onision type of person, and you were uploading like skits and stuff like that. So her being one of the first, and I want to say first, but I honestly don't think she was the first. She was one of the first, like one of the very first to upload videos on YouTube about makeup. Like that did not exist when she started uploading. Like that is how old her content is. Okay? She was in her early 20s when she started uploading content on YouTube. She's now in her late 30s, I believe. So it's been a long time of just her uploading videos on the internet. And I completely forgot what my point was gonna be. But yeah, so she's been around for a really, really long time. Oh yeah, my point is because she started YouTube so early, she got in on the monetization very early. And if you guys don't remember or you're too young to remember, back in the day when YouTube first started its monetization policy, obviously it was, small ads on the screen, right? Like on the sidebar. It wasn't really like invasive and in your face like it is now. But you could get money from that. And you did not have to have like a limit requirement to start getting money. And I remember because I started uploading videos around the time that YouTube did not have this crazy monetization policy. So I would get like, whenever I would upload videos, I would get like 10 cents per video, right? Because everyone who uploaded videos could get paid. You didn't have to have a certain amount of watch hours. You didn't have to have a certain amount of subscribers. You didn't have to have any of that stuff. So yeah, it was very easy to make money on there. And because there were no limits, a lot of people got, and also no limits as in, I think it's called CPU, where you get like your percentage of ad revenue changes depending on how many ads were shown on your video, depending on how many people watched and interacted with your video. And so like that was higher back in the day. So she has been making money, and also because her videos are so old and people are still discovering them or rewatching them, like going back to rewatch them, she's getting tons of money on the backlog of videos that she has. And needless to say, she is rich. Like, she's rich, rich. She's not just rich, she's like rich, rich. You get what I'm saying? Um, and so because of that, she has a lot of money to spend. And she's been spending money very publicly. And it used to be that back in the day when she started spending money publicly, people would be like, "Yes, queen, spend the money. Oh my god, you're so rich, like slay," or whatever. That was because of how the economy was back then. Nowadays, with the really bad economy, whenever you spend a lot of money really publicly, people are like, "Really? You have $4,000 to spend. You have $4,000 of spending money, which is lying around in your bank account, and you choose to buy 2 leopard print handbags that are almost identical, and then you're getting on TikTok and you're asking your followers, which one should I keep, you guys? I don't know, like this one with the leopard print or this other one with the leopard print." You know what I'm saying? And it's like a lot of your followers can't even eat because they don't have the money to eat. So, you know, like it's that kind of vibe. And so a lot of her followers were, when she uploaded that TikTok, they were making her known, like they were making it known that her content is just not it. Like, you expect me to sit here and enjoy a TikTok of you bragging to us about how you have so much money that you bought 2 nearly identical designer handbags that are worth like $2,000 each, and you don't know which one to keep? Like, that's the biggest problem in your life right now? Is that really the biggest problem in your life right now? Because if it is, send some money my way, right? And so people were telling her like, just you don't feel humble anymore. Like, this doesn't feel good to watch anymore. And she responded, "Oh, because somebody commented, like, you're out of touch and you're spending all of your money on handbags. I don't want to watch somebody spend all their money on handbags," right? And so she responded very, like, snarkily. So she was like, "Well, I don't spend all of my money on handbags, and also I do giveaways." And then it cut to like one of the giveaways that she's doing, and it's basically just her being like, "You guys, I have so much clothes. I'm gonna give some away to you. We're not a thrift shop." You know what I'm saying? So like her giveaways are not even like her buying stuff out of her own free will for the purposes of giving it away. Like if I were to do a giveaway, I would go out to the store and I would think, okay, what would my subscribers want me to give away? I don't know. I mean, I do a podcast about like things happening and taking like a more psychological perspective type of look on I don't know English. Um, Taking a deeper look at some of the things happening on social media and whatever, right? So maybe I'm thinking if I know my followers well, maybe you guys would want a journal. So I'm gonna go out there. I'm not gonna go into my own stash of journals and be like, you know what? This journal I've never used. It's collecting dust. Let me just pack this in a box and give it away, right? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna go to a store and I'm gonna look around. I'm gonna test the bendability of the journals, bendy journals, or the durability of the hardcover journals, and I'm gonna think, which journal should I get for whoever wins the giveaway, right? Maybe also because you need writing utensils to write in your journal, so I'm gonna think, okay, I also have to get pens. Should I get colored pens, right, with like colorful, like rainbow pens, or should I get the black and blue pens? And I'm gonna sit in the aisle and I'm gonna think about it and I'm gonna buy brand new pens. I'm not gonna go into my stash of old pens that I haven't used, that I bought when I was a waitress, and that I have just not gotten around to because it's so many pens. I think I have like 200 pens that just have gone untouched. I'm working through the pile, right? But I'm not gonna go into that pile and pull out like, you know what, this pen, I don't really like it, so I'm gonna put it in the go. Like that's essentially what she's doing is she's going into her own closet and she's like, okay, I bought these clothes originally for myself. I wore them myself. I don't like these clothes anymore. I'm gonna give them away to my loyal followers who have been with me through thick and thin, through lipstick gate for years. Over a decade at this point, because I love them so much. You're giving us your rags, girl, and you want your followers to appreciate that, right? Like, that would be like me saying, okay, you guys, you know what? This shirt, it used to be a Van Gogh painting on here. You can't even see it anymore. I'm gonna give this away to you guys because you're my loyal followers. And I love you so much. Like, is that not insulting? And it's like, sure, a lot of her clothes are thousands of dollars, and you would, a lot of her followers would never be able to buy clothes like that. But it's the principle of the thing, you know? Instead of going into your closet and being like, you know what, I really like this shirt. I want somebody else to like this shirt as much as I like this shirt. I'm gonna buy a duplicate and give it to one of my loyal followers. Instead of doing that, she's like, this shirt kinda ugly. Giveaway pile, right? Like, I beg your pardon. Um, but anyway, so she uploaded a TikTok in bed because the original TikTok that she uploaded where she was complaining about how she only gets 30,000 views per TikTok, which by the way is a lie. she If you scroll through her recent TikToks, the least that she's getting is 100,000. But also like that's just who she is. Like she just lies about stuff like that. So um yeah, she exaggerates a lot, and I say this as somebody who used to be a really big fan of hers. I say that because I know exactly how she is. Um, she exaggerates a lot. She's kind of like beauty guru Tana Mojo, you know. If you know, you know. Um, Except for I think Tana has retained a lot of her success, whereas Jacqueline has not really. But anyway, um So her original TikTok that she uploaded complaining about the amount of views that she gets, she was in her $125 hoodie. I talked about the hoodie as well. Also in the scarcity marketing episode, I forgot what it's called. I'm gonna have to look it up. Let me look it up. It's the sweatshirt that I talked about, that looks like it's been, pulled, because it's got a mock neck. Don't even know what the heck that means, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. Um, so let's see. The truth about influencer marketing. The thumbnail says the lies of influencer marketing, which is kind of funny. Um, but yeah, that is what it's called, and that's where I talked about that sweatshirt. That sweatshirt says Park on the chest, and it's the middle name of the woman who created the sweatshirts, and they retail for like $130. And again, the neck, it's like this thick, and it's called a mock neck, and it's wavy, and so it's supposed to be like cool, right? But it actually looks like you've put it in the wash one too many times, and it makes it look like it's like, you guys remember when Balenciaga came out with the shirt with a ton of holes in it, or the dirtied up shoes, right? And the dirtied up shoes are like $2,000. The mock neck is kind of like that. It kind of reminds me of that. It reminds me of something that a rich person would wear because they want to look like a poor person. Like, they want to look like a person who just can't afford to buy a new sweatshirt, and so they're wearing that like sweat stained sweatshirt that they just can't throw away because they don't have money to buy a new one. Um, that's what that reminds me of. And so she's wearing that sweatshirt again, $130, and she's standing in front of an $800 tree, and she's sitting there like, guys, I'm not getting the views that I used to get. Why is that? Right? So that's how she filmed her original TikTok. And then her response TikTok, she filmed it in her bed. Because I guess a lot of people were saying, that's a you problem, number one. Number two, you're wearing a really expensive sweatshirt and you're standing in front of a really expensive tree. I think you're fine. Like, I think you'd be fine if you go a couple of months without getting the views that you used to get. Right? It's all like rich people stuff. She's trying to come off as relatable. Um, it failed. And so she's in bed. She's like, no, you guys, like, I'm listening. And I understand that a lot of you guys are sick and tired of me trying to sell you products. And so I'm not going to sell you products anymore. Um, as somebody who was the number one Jaclyn Hill fan, I'm telling you right now, she's never going to do makeup tutorials again. And that's actually why I wanted to get on TikTok, because I wanted to film a TikTok about it. But then I thought, why don't I just go live? Yeah, she's never, because in the TikTok, her response to TikTok, she was like, no, like, I hear you guys. I know that you guys want makeup tutorials, and so more makeup tutorials coming your way. Those makeup tutorials are never coming our way. Maybe one makeup tutorial where she's doing like a sponsored something, right? Where she's like, you guys, this palette from what's a big makeup brand nowadays? Rhode. this is how little I know about the makeup community nowadays. This new makeup palette by Rhode is so good. You have to buy it. Use my link in the description. Right, and then that's the only makeup tutorial that she's gonna release, and then she's gonna go back to like using her Amazon affiliate links and being like, no, like, look, you guys, this sunscreen is so good. Purchase it right here. That's what's gonna happen. Because the one thing she's not good at, and I realize I sound like a hypocrite when I'm saying this, is she's not good at keeping her word. Okay? Um, yeah. Which, again, no need to tell me. I realize I sound like a hypocrite saying that. I'm not judging her for not being able to keep her word, but I am judging her for not being able to stop selling to her audience who is telling her to stop selling to them. Um, yeah, so that's the one thing that's happening in the makeup community. The second thing is far more upsetting. So I'm going to give a trigger warning to anybody who um, gets upset naturally at young kids being exploited. I think everybody should get upset at that topic. Yeah, this is just a far more difficult matter to stomach, and it's not as fun to talk about, and it's not fun at all to talk about, but I wanted to talk about it. So if that is upsetting to you, please click out of this live stream, and I will see you guys in a next upload, whenever it is that I upload. So recently it has come out, well, okay, no, that's wrong way to put it. Recently, a guy came out on TikTok and talked about his experience dealing with James Charles. Now, this is nothing new, and I hate that I even have to say that, but he actually came out with his story in 2020, and he was 14. And he made a YouTube video about how James Charles was just awful to him, and people didn't really believe him. And he went to, you know, he talked about how he went to a lawyer, he went to the police, and people didn't really believe that he had gone to the police or that he had gone to a lawyer. And so recently he came back and he was like, guys, I'm going to tell you everything about how I went to the police. I went to a lawyer, and I have the proof that I went to a lawyer, and I hope you guys will stick by me and listen to what I have to say. The things that he has said are extremely upsetting, and yeah, I so James Charles, if you didn't know, is not an OG beauty guru, but he's older, right? He started posting around 2016, and he was the first male cover girl. And I remember seeing him on commercials, and it was really big, especially at the time, because at the time there were not a lot of men wearing makeup in mainstream media. It was mostly just on YouTube where men would wear makeup, and that was revolutionary in and of itself. But on mainstream media, it wasn't really a thing until James Charles came around, and so he got a, a deal with CoverGirl, and he showed up in mainstream media commercials, and he was almost a household name just because of how controversial it was that a man would be on CoverGirl, and that CoverGirl would hire a man wearing makeup, right? So he received a lot of the homophobic hate comments and whatnot. Obviously inexcusable. But then he got really big on YouTube. a lot of the OG beauty gurus, they wanted to hang out with him. He was actually in Jaclyn Hill's Becca Champagne Pop launch, as was Jeffree Star, who was another man in makeup, right? Except Jeffree Star did not have the mainstream attention that James Charles had, at least not for wearing makeup. He most definitely had mainstream attention for other things, similar to James Charles, ironically. But I will get there. Um, so, you know, James Charles becomes really popular. He is invited to all sorts of places. I mean, he was on a CoverGirl advertisement. His face is kind of all over the place. His makeup really sucks. But it's the fact that he's a man wearing makeup that has his face all over billboards, despite him having really bad makeup. I can't believe that nobody at CoverGirl was like, you know what? We will do your makeup, okay? Let us handle your makeup. Because honestly, if it wasn't so revolutionary that he was the first male CoverGirl, his makeup would actually make a lot of people not want to buy CoverGirl. Because, like, how is it possible that he looks like that wearing CoverGirl makeup? Maybe CoverGirl makeup sucks, you know? But anyway, the reason why people bought CoverGirl makeup is because James Charles was a man wearing makeup, and that had never been seen before. So that's really the only reason why people bought CoverGirl, to my recollection, anyway. And I'm not trying to be a hater, but it's just, if you guys had seen the advertisements, you'd be like, okay, I'm never buying CoverGirl ever. Yikes. But no, that was a really like important step in the right direction. Really wish they had chosen somebody other than James Charles. Somebody maybe already established on YouTube, not Jeffree Star. Also not Manny MUA. Maybe Patrick Star, you know. Yeah. So that's how he gets his start, and obviously because he's in the mainstream media and because he has a lot of tweets go viral around that time, he gets really, really big on YouTube. To the point where in 2019, 2018, I think, right before the Bi Sister Dramageddon 2 scandal, YouTube partners up with James Charles and they're like, "Hey, do you want a TV show?" It's a like, cuz at the time they had come out with YouTube TV, and James Charles was like, "Oh my god, yes, I do want a TV show with you." And the TV show was all about how to become an influencer. This was around the time that like influencer started being used as a word rather than beauty guru, which was what the original word was, but whatever. Um the show, is all about how to best market yourself, and it's a bunch of different makeup Instagram people who show off their makeup talent on this show, and then they get voted by the public. And by this point, James Charles had already had drama. He tweeted about how he didn't want to go to Africa because he didn't want to catch the Ebola virus. Obviously racist. So he got slightly canceled for that, not really all the way through. A lot of people didn't really care about it because racism wasn't like a conversation that people were having. So people called him out for being racist, but the majority of people were like, how is that racist? Like, you guys are looking too much. Like, it's not that deep, right? I hate the whole it's not that deep excuse. It is that deep, actually. But that's neither here nor there. Um, and so he skated by. And I never really got into him, but I did like his show. So I watched his show, and it was good, and then he was also around that time trying to be a singer. And I remember at the time I was watching this vocal coach named Tristan, and I remember Tristan and James Charles made a collab, and then Tristan made a collab with Gabby Hanna, and it was kind of really weird because it was like, what's Tristan doing with James Charles and Gabby Hanna, right? But it is what it is. And so, yeah, uh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. So then Sister comes out, and it's Tati Westbrook, who had become James Charles' like best friend, mentor. She comes out with a video called Bye Sister, because James Charles would always be like, "Hi sisters," right? That was his thing. uh, so she titled her video Bye Sister. And in the video, she basically talked about how James Charles had a fetish for straight men. Now, this video would have destroyed James Charles had it not been for the goddamn gummies. Because in the video, she basically framed it as James Charles is predatory. He only goes after straight guys because he's trying to turn them gay. He doesn't believe that there is a guy out there that is actually straight. And also, fuck him because he used a competitor of mine. So the whole it made it out as though the only reason why she even cared about James Charles being predatory was because he promoted competitor gummies of hers. And Tati at the time had a vitamin gummy company called, oh, I was gonna say it was called Sugar Bear Hair, but it's no, that's not what it was called. I don't remember what it was called. It kind of like flew under the radar. But they're, vitamin gummies that you take for your hair. It's like hair, skin, nails type of vitamins. And there was a competitor of hers called Sugar Bear Hair. And so James Charles, when he went to Coachella, he was like, okay, I'm more famous than I anticipated, and I just bought general admission tickets, and I actually need a backstage pass so that I can have security because there's people surrounding me at Coachella. First world problems, for sure. So he's like calling up his friends and he's like, does anybody have an extra pass? One of his friends, Nikita Dragon, says, oh my god, I know somebody who can get you a backstage pass or an artist pass or whatever, but you're gonna have to promote them. So James is like, no worries, just send me their contact information. The company that has an extra pass is Sugar Bear Hair, which is a competitor to Tati's Vitamins. So James is like, okay, no worries, I will do this. He did the promotional video. He was like, you guys, these Sugar Bear Hair gummies are amazing. You have to try them. Okay, bye. Right? And he got the backstage pass. He got security or whatever. And Tati saw that and she messaged him and she was like, you kind of suck. And James, obviously, he was at Coachella, so he did not read his messages until after. And in the meantime, Tati was filming Bye Sister, and she was talking about how James is a really bad friend because she has her own vitamin gummy company, and he never promoted her vitamin gummy company, and instead chose to promote a competitor. And that was really unfair because Tati had been James's mentor and had given him so much advice and had helped him deal with the legal side of YouTube, right? Dealing with sponsorships, getting a manager to manage his sponsorship deals, content, etc. And so she was really hurt. So she makes Bye Sister. And again, I say this video would have destroyed him had she just not mentioned the gummies at all. If she had not mentioned the gummies at all, James would have no way to defend himself. Because the only reason he came out of that is because Tati mentioned the gummies. So Tati, right towards the end, so she mentions all this like really concerning stuff. Like, what do you mean James is trying to turn straight men gay? Because he doesn't believe there is such a thing as a gay man or as a straight man, so he's trying to turn them gay. And he's doing it like without their consent, right? It's basically like very rapey kind of mentality. Kind of like how when um guys don't take no for an answer, when you're like, no, like, I don't want to flirt with you, I don't want you flirting with me, like, I have a boyfriend, and they're like, but does he treat you well, right? That's basically what James was doing to these men, allegedly, according to Tati. And so everybody was like, hey, wait, hold on a minute, forget about the gummies. Huh? He's doing what? That's very, very concerning, especially since these men that he's approaching are not really like men. They're still teenagers, like adults, but like still 18, 19, right? They're young. Pause. Rewind. Let's talk about that. Tati instead talks about the gummies, and she tells this whole story about how he had never promoted her gummy vitamins. I keep wanting to say sugar bear hair. It's not sugar bear hair, but she talks about how he never wanted to promote her gummies, and he only promoted sugar bear hair. So then James, he comes out with 2 apology videos. The first one, he's with his glasses, he's sobbing. He's like, I'm so sorry, Tati. Right? And he's like taking deep breaths or whatever. It did not go over well. The second video that he uploads, however, is of him debunking the entire gummy scandal. He shows proof of him promoting her gummy vitamins. Ask me if he debunks the other concerning stuff. No. He does not. But you know what? Debunking the gummy vitamin story was enough for people. And I say people, and I include myself in people, right? Because before he debunked the gummy stories, everybody was like, oh my god, he's the reason why there's a stereotype about how gay men are predatory. Like, it's gay men like him that really just piss me off. He's awful representation for the community. A bunch of celebrities start coming out of how either James Charles hit on them as a straight man or James Charles hit on their boyfriends as straight men, one of them being Zara Larson. She comes out and she's screenshots a DM that James Charles sent her boyfriend, and it's a DM being like, of James being like, oh my god, you're so hot, right? And Zara Larson screenshots that, posts it on her Twitter account, and everybody's like, oh my god, James, you're so predatory, right? And attacking him. And so then when James debunks, again, he only debunks the gummy vitamin story. When he does that, Tati's entire story of how he goes after straight men in an attempt to turn them goes out the window. And then a bunch of those same celebrities that were calling him out start getting called out. So Zara Larson starts getting called out for hitting on somebody's boyfriend, or that somebody's boyfriend would then turn into her boyfriend. Basically, the story of Zara Larson, I'm pretty sure it was Zara Larson, the story of how Zara Larson and her boyfriend got together was that she hit on him via DMs. So then a lot of people were like, okay, wait, why is it okay for you, a woman, to slide into somebody's DMs and hit on them, but it's not okay for a guy, a gay guy, to do the same thing, right? So a lot of people are standing by James, and he uses this as an opportunity to be like, you guys, this is really harmful rhetoric that you have been throwing around. Um, and I'm not predatory. Like I'm not that kind of person. So people do not believe that he is predatory. And people started apologizing to him. And when Tati came out with her Bi Sister video, Jeffree Star and Shane Dawson were like, enjoying it. And Jeffree Star was like, there's proof that he went after a straight guy, and there's proof that he's predatory, and I will release that proof. He never did, because it became unpopular for people to call James Charles predatory. Again, he never really debunked the predatory allegations. He said they were false, but he did not provide proof. And to be fair, neither did Tati, so it was just a he said, she said type of thing. But he did provide proof for the gummy story. So because he provided proof for the gummy story and made himself credible and made Tati look not credible, people believed him over her. This then led to 2020. Okay, this Bi Sister happened in 2019. In 2020, James had, kind of rebuilt his YouTube empire, but TikTok was becoming the new thing that the new kids were using, the cool kids were using. It was not cool kids. Again, with any social media platform that starts, it is always started by the weird kids. Okay? So it's a bunch of weird kids on TikTok. No offense. Love y'all. But because it was cool and it was niche and it was a new social media platform, a lot of the YouTubers started trying to branch out to TikTok because it's a new social media platform. It did not have monetization. It was a very bare bones kind of, you could only do 30-second clips, and then eventually it increased to 1-minute clips. You couldn't even do captions on there. Nowadays you can do captions on there. So it's very bare bones, and the opportunity to grow was there, right? Because it was such a new niche app. So a lot of the big stars on YouTube started trying to branch out to TikTok. They didn't do very well at first, but eventually they, became really big. But there was a guy on there, I'm pretty sure his name is Ethan, and he was 14 and he started uploading TikToks on there and he blew up. And oh, what do you know? James Charles, now a fully grown man, reaches out to Ethan and he is like, oh my god, you're so cool, or whatever. Because apparently Ethan had been. Oh, okay, so first it's James Charles comments on one of Ethan's TikToks. And then so Ethan is really happy about that. He's not into the makeup space, but James Charles was really famous, especially for after the Bi Sister scandal. It started becoming mainstream news. So once again, his name was in mainstream media. So people knew who James Charles was. He had a really big following, and so Ethan obviously is like, oh my god, I can't believe such a big influencer, such a big celebrity essentially commented on one of my TikToks. I can't believe he found one of my TikToks. This is so exciting. So then his friend is like, oh my god, you should DM him. So Ethan being 14 and wanting to interact with this huge influencer, starts DMing James. Because James is a grown man, it would then have been his responsibility, and it was his responsibility to not reply. Because this is a 14-year-old child. He looks 14. It is James's responsibility to not reply to that at all. And matter of fact, he shouldn't have even commented. I'm gonna be so for real. And I say that in retrospect, like knowing who he is, he shouldn't have even commented. But he comments, then he replies to Ethan's DMs, and he's like, "Why do you keep messaging me?" And Ethan's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I did not know that you were gonna answer. You know, I thought you had like so many DMs. I'm so sorry." But from there, a relationship forms. Keep in mind, James is a grown ass man. Ethan is 14. So they start DMing. Then James Charles is like, "Hey, you should add me on Snapchat." Snapchat, if you don't know, is a social media app where you can message people, but after 24 hours, the message deletes. That is the default. You can go into your settings and you can choose, like, have the message delete after I open it. So you open a message, and then as soon as you click out, the message is gone. All right. The default is after 24 hours, after you open it, it deletes. But you can change that. So you can change it to delete as soon as you open the message, or you can change it to delete never, right? Or to delete after a week, or to stay on your phone forever. You can also click and hold the message and save it so that it never deletes. So you can have like the default setting, but if you want to keep a certain message, you press and hold and then save it, and it saves it forever. Also, if you screenshot a picture of the chat, it tells the other person. So if you were chatting with me and you were telling me like your deepest, darkest secrets or whatever, and then I screenshotted it with the intent of sharing it to somebody else, it would notify you and it would be like, "Lily just screenshotted your message." And then you could ask me, "Hey, why did you screenshot my message?" Like, that's really weird. Please don't screenshot my message, right? So essentially, if somebody were to be sending you inappropriate messages and you were trying to screenshot them to have proof that this person was sending you inappropriate messages, they would be notified and they could confront you, or they could block you and make it so that you no longer have access to any messages that they send you. So that means that then you wouldn't be able to go back and scroll through your history of messages to screenshot the entire history of messages, because you would be blocked. You would no longer have access to that. That being said, it is really, really weird that a grown man asked a teenager to chat on such a platform. Because then that means that James Charles could send inappropriate messages, and Ethan would not be able to screenshot the inappropriate messages without James being made aware of Ethan screenshotting the inappropriate messages. So let's continue. So they move on to Snapchat, and at first, according to Ethan, everything is as normal as it can be. Obviously, this is a grown-ass man messaging a teenager, which is already not normal, but, you know, Ethan says, like, he didn't find any red flags because he thought James was just being supportive. And James is a grown-ass man who has years of experience being on the internet. He started in 2015. This is now 2020. So yeah, years of experience, millions of followers. And so Ethan is trying to get like advice. He's like, "Hey, like, you know, do you think I could make it in this space?" And James is, according to Ethan, being supportive. And then Ethan shares how he wants to be a model, and James is like, "You could totally be a model." To you and I, and Ethan as an adult, we can spot the red flag. Why is a grown ass man telling a 14-year-old that he can be a model, right? But to Ethan, the 14-year-old, he is like, "Oh my god, this big influencer is telling me that I can be a model." We were all 14 once. I'm sure if not even our favorite celebrity, but if a celebrity came up to us and was like, "You could be a model," we would be like, "Oh my god, really? You think so?" Right? So again, I do not fault Ethan for any of this. I fault James Charles. So, you know, James is telling him all kinds of stuff. And I am live. So I'm telling you that I am live streaming right now. Obviously, the camera is not facing you, so you can do your thing. This is really awkward. You're making it really awkward. I already told you I am live streaming. Well, I'm paused anyway. Are you gonna eat? You, you can eat. Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry. Like I commented, I don't necessarily feel the most comfortable talking about this subject in front of my brother, just because it is so sensitive. I hope he did not fall. And also, he is only a few years younger than Ethan is, so it makes everything that much more upsetting. But yeah, so James, is pretending to be supportive of Ethan's decisions, and gains Ethan's trust. And I hate to say this, but I have to say this. It is all alleged. This is Ethan's story. This is the thing that he's telling on his TikTok account. And the series of events that went down. But again, he contacted a lawyer, he contacted a police officer, so in my own opinion, I am inclined to believe the story that he was sharing. So then, as I'm sure you all can understand and can guess what happened next, James starts asking Ethan for pictures of himself. And this is the part of the story where it's just incredibly upsetting. And it is just so, it's awful. So James, he asks Ethan to send pictures, and at one point, and again, trigger warning for anybody who can't stomach this. James asks Ethan to send him a picture of Ethan's happy trail. This is a 14-year-old boy being asked to send a picture of his body to a grown man. So Ethan, being 14, tells James, I'm sorry. I shaved my happy trail. I can't send you a picture of my happy trail. If you guys don't know what a happy trail is, it is length of body hair on a guy's body, starting from the belly button going down. Ethan then tells us on TikTok that he lied to James. He said, I told him I shaved it, but the truth was I didn't even have a happy trail yet. That's the part of his story that made me super upset. And then in 2020, when he originally shared his story, he talked about how James Charles would send him videos of himself naked and on the bed. And when he originally told the story, it was in a YouTube video format, and this was back in 2020. And he shows a blurred out video of proof that James Charles had sent him a video of him naked on the bed. And it's just of him posing in such a way that nothing was showing, but also posing in such a way that you can tell he is completely naked. Like, he had nothing on him. He was just posing, like, to the side, so you couldn't see anything. But it was still very suggestive and still something that a grown man should not be sending a 14-year-old boy. And people still did not believe Ethan. But more people believed Ethan back then than the people that believe him now, which was because of the bi-sister situation. And that's what I'm saying, is that Tati should have kept the gummy bears out of the conversation just entirely, because then James would have never come into contact with this 14-year-old boy, because this 14-year-old boy most likely would have known James is a creep, he's not to be trusted, you know, because that was his reputation when Tati came out with her video. But because James debunked the gummy bear story, James's reputation bounced back, and in fact it became even better than it was before, and he became sort of like an image of the oppressed gay man, if that makes sense. Like, people, instead of seeing him as this annoying gay dude who was posting makeup videos on the internet, now they were seeing him as this guy who fought for gay rights, which he never fought for gay rights. It was just that one instance where he spoke up and painted himself out to be an advocate of how gay men are treated poorly and how they're called predatory when they're actually not, right? And it's like, okay, for sure, you're just the wrong person to be delivering that message, but allegedly, it's all alleged. So Ethan comes out with his story, and then another guy comes out with his story, and I'm so sorry I cannot remember the names, but I remember that 3 guys came out with a similar story. James Charles reached out to me, and I am very clearly underage. I have my age in my bio. There's no reason why he should be messaging somebody my age. And James was canceled, and this time it stuck. And so he made an apology that it was not well received. In his apology video, he was basically saying that the only reason he messaged these guys in the context that he did, sexually explicit messages, to, again, kids, is because he was desperate to date. And he did not pay attention to their bios. He did not know that they were not adults. He had been told by them that they were adults, because apparently these kids told him, "No, girl, don't worry, I'm 18." Ethan debunked this when he came out with his new TikTok, because he showed that he was on famous birthdays, because he was actually a really popular TikToker. He showed he was on famous birthdays, and then one of the guys that called James out, when he reacted to James's apology, he rightfully pointed out, "I have my age in my bio. I have 16 in my bio." There's no way that he wouldn't have known. Because in order to message someone on TikTok, you have to read their bio. Because it goes profile picture, bio, message button. So there's no way James wouldn't have known that this guy was not 16, right? Or there's no way that James would not have known that this guy was 16. But the reason why James is still as popular as he is because he changed his content to attract a younger demographic. So instead of his audience being millennials and Gen Z, his audience is now Gen Alpha. That's the only reason why he's as big as he is still. Because Gen Alpha has no memory of this happening. They have no reason to distrust James. And even if they did have a reason, they wouldn't care about it. And so, also, I want to talk really briefly. In James's apology, he admits that he was messaging minors. But, he excuses it by saying, I didn't know that they were minors. I had no idea. Right? Which I'm so sorry, I don't believe that you had no idea. Because also, kids at the time on TikTok were making very specific content. Like, the content that was being posted on TikTok was mostly content being posted by kids. Like, it was mostly kids on TikTok at the time. And the few adults that were there were either like 18, 19, or they were like college aged. That's the oldest of people there on TikTok. So it's not like you could even say, oh, well, it was, a mix. Because nowadays it is a mix of adults and kids, right? So you can come across an adult that looks like a kid, or you can come across a kid that looks like an adult, and you would never know. Also, like, the skincare phase was not a thing back then. So kids still looked like kids because they hadn't ruined their skin with skincare products that are not for them, right? Whereas nowadays, unfortunately, that is not the case. So there's no way that he did not know, you know? And then also he said, like, now I'm going to start checking IDs and I'm going to ask the people that I'm trying to date to send me their ID. Why don't you just go to Tinder? Why do you have to find someone on the internet? You know? Like, why do you have to find a partner as you're scrolling on social media? Why can't you just use a dating app like the rest of us? Because the dating apps will do the verification for you. So anyway, like I said, Ethan, he first came out with his story in 2020. A lot of people believed him because of the bi-sister situation, but then also there were some people who did not believe him because they thought, like, well, James's response to the bi-sister video exonerates him forever, uh, which is not the case, by the way. But and nowadays, so he came out with a new TikTok saying, like, oh, because basically what he was saying is back then he did contact a lawyer and the lawyer contacted the police department and he gave them the proof, right? But he stopped, he ghosted them because they were offering to send James to trial, to like sue him basically for acting inappropriately with Ethan. And Ethan was like, I don't want money out of him. I just want him to get the justice. Like, I just want to get the justice that I deserve. I don't want to get money out of this. And so he basically ghosted them. And now 5 years later, he's now 19. He has come out with another TikTok and has been like, a lot of people did not believe me when when I first came out with my story, but now I'm here to provide more proof. I have an entire Google Drive worth of evidence, and he shows a Snapchat video. You guys, this is so upsetting. He shows a Snapchat video of James, because Ethan had asked James to do makeup on him, right? Because James was known as like this big makeup artist. Uh, and um, he was trying to do a collab with James so that he could grow, you know? Because again, he's 14, he's trying to become a TikTok star. And James sends him back a video being like, I hate putting makeup on a hot guy. Hot guy? You mean the 14-year-old that you're talking to? And so, Ethan's brother records this, like, with a separate phone, because obviously if you screen record or screenshot anything on Snapchat, it lets the person know that you're screenshotting or screen recording whatever they sent you. So you have to, in order to get that sort of, evidence, you have to have a separate device, and that separate device has to be the one that's recording the screen. Rather than having, so a lot of the evidence that he has is kind of a little bit low quality, just because of that factor that it had to be recorded on a separate phone. But yeah, he has proof. He has an entire Google Drive worth of proof, and of course, somewhere in that Google Drive is a video of James Charles butt naked, sending that video to a 14-year-old. It is just so upsetting. And again, this is all allegedly, but me personally, I am inclined to believe what Ethan is saying. And so, yeah, those are the things that have been going on in the beauty community as of recent. Yeah, and like I said earlier, Jeffree Star also has similar allegations against him, which Nikki, I forget what her name is. There's a YouTuber on here named Nikki something, who is uploading a timeline of, or has uploaded a timeline of Jeffree Star and James Charles. I don't think she included the allegations though. But yeah. So you can go ahead and I think I'll leave them linked in the description for you guys if you want to watch that. And then she's also currently working on a Shane Dawson one. So that's even more just awful people all around. And I have beef with Tati as well, because again, if she hadn't brought up her stupid vitamins, we would not be having this conversation right now. If she had just left the vitamins out of the equation, we would not be having this conversation. But she just had to mention the freaking vitamins. Yeah, so it's all very depressing, and again, I'm just upset. I'm very upset, and yeah, I just don't know. Also, just to add to this conversation, James went on a podcast a couple of years ago talking about how he's so intelligent himself that instead of seeking out intelligent people to date, he would rather date the youngest possible. I'm That's almost word for word what he said. And as somebody who is a few years younger than James Charles, I reached his ages. And every time that I reach the ages wherein he says or does something creepy, I can never put myself in his shoes. I'm always like, I'm the age that James Charles was at when he said that he is so smart, he'd rather date somebody dumb than somebody smart. I just don't feel that way. Matter of fact, dumb people annoy me. That sounds really rude to say, but like, if I were to pick my partner, I want somebody to be able to have conversations with. And a lot of the times, the conversations that I want to have, you have them by reading books, by analyzing the text carefully, by analyzing, the intention behind what the author was trying to say or was trying to put out there, the message into the world, that kind of thing. I cannot date somebody who reads a book and is like, cool story. Anyway, right? I want to discuss the books with my partner. So needless to say, I do want somebody who is on a similar intellect level as I am. I cannot relate to this dude at all. Like, in the slightest. Cause like, what do you mean? It's just like everything that he has done. It's it's awful. It truly is. But anyway, my throat is starting to hurt, so that is my cue to leave. Let me know what you guys think about this. Just really awful stuff. But, let me know what you think. And I will talk to you guys hopefully in an episode soon. I just need to finish editing this. But there's been a lot of episodes that I've filmed that I've had to scrap because I just don't like the way that they turned out. So, but I do have more topics that I need to talk about. So, thankfully, I haven't run out of things to talk about. But, whenever I talk about, I might need to go back to the script writing, but I don't want to go back to the script writing because that takes up so much of my time. And I would like to have that time, but then if I freestyle it, it ends up to a point where I'm just not satisfied with it. So I don't know. I might need to hire someone, which is like a crazy thing to say because like my channel is not anywhere near the point where I would need like where I would be like, oh yeah, I can just use my revenue from YouTube to hire someone. It's just me. Yeah, I just need to learn better time management, but it's fine. Anyway, um, yeah, I will talk to you guys later. And thank you so much for watching. Bye.